spending the morning exploring the Acropolis, and with only one full day in Athens, we were determined to make the most of it. So our next stop was the ancient Agora, the heart of daily life in ancient Athens. The ancient Agora was the political, commercial, and social center of Athens for centuries. The word Agora means gathering place, and if you wanted to shop, debate politics, hear important announcements, conduct business, or simply catch up on local gossip, this was where you came. Public buildings, temples, offices, and monuments once crowded this valley below the Acropolis. The Temple of Hephaestus, one of the most impressive structures in the Agora. It looks a little like a smaller version of the Parthenon. That's because it was built during the same period and in the same architectural style. Dedicated to Hephaestus, the Greek god of blacksmiths, craftsmen, and fire, it's one of the best preserved ancient Greek temples anywhere in the world. From here, we looked out over a broad field dotted with ruins, trees, and ancient foundations. 2,000 years ago, this open space would have been bustling with merchants, politicians, philosophers, and citizens conducting the business of Athens. Today, it takes a little imagination to picture all those buildings standing where only fragments remain. Nearby were large rectangular stone blocks that once formed parts of buildings, walls, roads, and monuments throughout the city. Descending into the ruins themselves, we followed pathways through what was once the center of ancient civic life. One sign pointed toward the road to Piraeus, the main route connecting Athens to its port city. Goods, travelers, soldiers, and merchants would have passed along this road every day as Athens traded throughout the Mediterranean. Further on, we came to the site identified as the state prison. According to tradition, this may have been the area where the philosopher Socrates spent his final days before being sentenced to drink hemlock in 399 BC. Nearby was the Street of Marble Workers, where craftsmen cut, shaped, and carved the stone used throughout the city. Looking around at all the marble ruins, it's easy to see they stayed busy. Continuing on, we arrived at one of the most charming buildings in the Agora, the Church of the Holy Apostles. Built in the 10th century, it's one of the few Byzantine churches in Athens that survives largely intact. Of course, I couldn't resist ringing the bell. Church bells like this were traditionally used to call worshippers to prayer, or announce religious services. Around the church are fragments of earlier buildings reused in its construction. The stone featuring a cross within a circle and surrounded by 4 flowers is one example of the decorative motifs often used in Byzantine religious architecture. The church's arched windows, intricate stonework, and flower-shaped openings create a beautiful contrast against the much older Greek ruins surrounding it. After exploring the church, we continued across the Agora toward the enormous Stoa of Attalos. This long colonnaded building originally served as an ancient shopping center and public gathering place. The version standing today is actually a modern reconstruction completed in the 1950s using many of the original architectural elements. Walking beneath its rows of columns, it almost feels like stepping back into ancient Athens. The covered walkway is lined with statues, sculptures, inscriptions, architectural fragments, and decorative reliefs that once adorned buildings throughout the city. Inside the museum, we found some fascinating artifacts. One of the most interesting was the Cleroterion, an ancient device used to randomly select citizens for jury duty. Ancient Athens pioneered democracy, and this stone machine helped ensure fairness by randomly choosing jurors rather than allowing appointments by powerful officials. We also saw a bronze Spartan shield, beautifully decorated pottery, an ancient baby potty seat that looks surprisingly familiar despite being over 2,000 years old. Back outside, we discovered modern sculptures of Confucius and Socrates, created by Chinese artist Wu Weishan, symbolically bringing together 2 of history's greatest philosophical traditions. As we continued through the ruins, we passed countless column fragments, foundations, and partially reconstructed structures. We came across a damaged statue of Emperor Hadrian, one of Rome's most influential rulers and a great admirer of Greek culture. Hadrian invested heavily in Athens and helped fund many of the city's most famous monuments, including Hadrian's Library, which we saw yesterday. Nearby were the remains of the altar of Zeus and the relocated Temple of Ares. In an unusual feat of ancient engineering, the entire Temple of Ares was dismantled and moved here stone by stone during the Roman period. Throughout the site, statues stand atop restored bases, marking where monuments once honored politicians, military leaders, benefactors, and emperors who shaped the city's history. After leaving the Agora, we made our way through Athens' busy modern streets toward our final major archaeological site of the day, the Temple of Olympian Zeus. Before reaching it, we passed beneath Hadrian's Arch, built in AD 131, to celebrate the Roman emperor's contributions to Athens. One side of the arch symbolically faced the ancient Greek city, while the other faced the newer Roman district created under Hadrian's rule. Then we entered the sanctuary of the Olympion, the Temple of Olympian Zeus. Even in ruins, it's difficult to overstate the scale of this place. Construction began in the 6th century BC, but it wasn't completed until nearly 650 years later under Emperor Hadrian. By then it had become one of the largest temples in the entire Roman Empire. Part of the temple is currently surrounded by scaffolding as conservation work continues. One of the most impressive sights is a falling column lying exactly where it collapsed centuries ago. You can clearly see the individual marble drums stacked one upon another to form a single column. Seeing the pieces spread like this gives a remarkable insight into how these giant structures were actually built. Walking around it from every angle, the towering Corinthian columns dominate the landscape. Originally, there were 104 of them. Today, only a fraction remain standing, but they still convey the immense ambition behind the project. Nearby, additional column drums, capitals, and architectural fragments rest on the grass like pieces of an enormous marble puzzle waiting to be reassembled. As we left the sanctuary and walked back beneath Hadrian's Arch, we could see the Greek flag waving proudly atop the Acropolis in the distance, a fitting backdrop to a day spent exploring the many layers of Athens' history. 3 major archaeological sites in one day, thousands of years of history, and next we head to our workaway on the Isthmus of Corinth, where we'll trade ancient ruins for organic farming and see what life is like on one of Greece's most important crossroads.